Senior of the Rebbe, to learn Hilchas Beis Abchira, we just heard now the Rebbe was speaking about it and reminding us again and again to learn Hilchas Beis Abchira in the days from Bein Hamtzorim, Shiva also Tmuz until after Tisha B'Av. We have the honor today to have a Choshever younger man, which is we should welcome here. Came back to Mונטריאול, Harav HaChosid, Harav Simcha Shniaur is going to give us some insight into Hilchas Beis Abchira. Harav Simcha, bevakasha.
A beautiful welcome. Okay.
By the way, everybody should give tzedakah b'tzibur. They love the Rebbe.
So we all know learning Hilchos Beis Abchira. So Sefer Aveda starts off Shalu Shloim Yerushalayim Yishlayu Avayach. So the Rebbe asked, there's in regards to remembering about the Beit HaMikdash, there's a pasuk that's discussed in Gemara. Where do we know that we need to remember the Beit HaMikdash? And the Gemara brings down a pasuk from Yirmiyah about Tzion, Zecher Tzion Lidarish or something to that effect. But in this Sefer Aveda, which is going to speak all about the Beit HaMikdash, the Rambam brings another pasuk, Shalu Shloim Yerushalayim. So the Rebbe says that from here we see that when we learn Hilchos Beis Abchira, we're not just remembering about Hilchos Beis Abchira, we're actually Shalu Shloim Yerushalayim, we're actually bringing it, we're making it happen. So with that being said, it just brings some more importance and to what we're doing. So when we think about the Beit HaMikdash and you ask a guy on the street, child, anyone, so what's the Beit HaMikdash all about? So every guy has, what he will think about the Meneda, depends on what the year, maybe Karbanes, every guy will have his own thing, the Aring, Aliyah L'Regal, Hakal, different times, different stuff. So the Rishonim also discuss this, and there's also different opinions about this. And over there, it's not just, remembering, there's also nafkaminas, as we'll get to. So you have how the Ramban says in his Pirush al Torah, in Parshas Truma, he says, the pasuk, we well-known pasuk, also mikdash v'shechanti v'seicham. So he says, this is what's the ikar chayfetz? What does Hashem want in the Beit HaMikdash? He wants the Aron, the Shekhinah should be there, and that's what the Beit HaMikdash is all about. But when we look at the Rambam, so we open up Hilchos Beis Abchira, we see mitzvah to say lasus bayis Hashem. So it's a mitzvah to say to make a bayis. Muchon li is makrivim by karbonis. In order that we should have karbanis. When you think about the Beit HaMikdash, what's the point of the Beit HaMikdash? To be makriv karbanis. And so we have these two opinions. So what's the difference? So the difference is that when you look at the Beit HaMikdash, how it's all about the karbanis, then automatically part of making the Beit HaMikdash is you need to make everything up until the karbanis. So all the Klei HaMikdash are included in that mitzvah. And therefore you turn the page, and further on he says about, continues about all the Beit HaMikdash, how it was in Yerushalayim and how it was and how the how it's explained in Yechezkel, and then he says this is what Elohim advarim shem ikar b'binyan al-bayis. And you make a kodesh hakadoshim, and there has to be an ulam, a heichal, and so on. And then in the next halacha he continues b'oisim b'mikdash kelim, and in this thing, part of what we're building, we also need to make kelim. It's part of the mitzvah. But if you ask the Ramban, you look at the Ramban says that, no, there's a mitzvah to build a bayis, And there's also a mitzvah to build a shulchan and mizbeach and all those stuff. So, so that's a clear nafkamina, but the Rebbe says that in essence, both of these opinions are really saying, they both agree. They both agree that the Iker is, that the Aron is, without the Aron, the Beit HaMikdash is missing. If it doesn't have the Shekhinah, it's missing everything. But the Rambam says that the main part is Karbanis for one reason, and it's interesting how you see it in his words, how he really learns from the same pasuk about making a Beis HaMikdash. He says we learn to make a Beis HaMikdash, like it says va'asu mikdash, but he doesn't focus on the next part. And the Rebbe says the reason why he doesn't focus on the next part is because we build the Beis HaMikdash, and Hashem is v'shachanti b'seichel. Hashem will then dwell into the thing. Rambam is a Sefer Halachos. So he's telling us what we need to do. What Hashem does afterwards, the Shekhinah coming down, that's Hashem's part. Whereas the Ramban, giving a Pirush al Torah, which Torah is a Gilui, it's Milamayla Lamata. So he says, what's the focus? What comes Milamayla? What the ultimate, what Hashem gives us in the Beis HaMikdash. And the Rebbe adds how when you think about the Beis HaMikdash, really you see how everything the Rambam writes about the Beis HaMikdash, everything we know about the Beis HaMikdash is all about our Aveda, what we do, and how we affect the Gashmias, and therefore the windows were facing outwards, and the cups were upside down, and everything was about affecting the Gashmias. And therefore the Rambam, that's just another reason why the Rambam focuses on the Indian of Karbanis, even though the Aron is just as important. And the Rebbe says that this is the reason why when the Rambam was setting up the Sefer Aveda, he put first Hilchos Beis HaBchira. Because when the Rambam wants to remind us and to make sure that when we think about Hilchos Beis HaBchira, the first thing we associate it with is the Aveda. That's why it's the first thing that he mentions. Aveda needs to be synonymous with the Beit HaMikdash needs to be synonymous with the Aveda that was in it. All right.
We need the few minyonim outside, so please, Ma'ariv is in about